but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Americans everywhere are enjoying their Sundays after successfully completing Mother's Day in less than 20 minutes this morning. Dads were able to wrap up breakfast in bed by 9:18 a.m., giving them plenty of time to mill about the garage for the rest of the afternoon. While children who spent a minute and a half this morning hugging their mothers are currently out playing street hockey. And after completely fulfilling their Mother's Day obligations with a store-bought card, teens are now free to leave and spend the day with their friends. The moms, who were quickly and efficiently lavished with cards, flowers, assurances of love, and 7 full minutes of family togetherness, praised the competency with which the holiday was carried out.
Oh, it was great. Charles and the kids made me feel completely appreciated, but they ended the holiday before I even got out of bed. Guess I'll go water the plants now.
But before the day-long celebration concluded early this morning, moms had their own job to do, making a brief, obligatory phone call to their own mothers.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Welcome to the live Saturday edition of the show. Our phone lines are open for you if you want to join us. It has been a wild, wild week.
Yes, indeed.
And the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Is this the beginning of what will be a wild, wild year as well? Will we be looking back in 6 months and saying, wow, remember how calm things were the first week of this year?
Yeah, 2021 is saying to 2020, hey, hold my beer.
Hold my beer, yeah.
Hold my beer.
With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And the captain.
603-283-6160. You can bring up anything you want. Coming up, more on the deplatforming, because it seems to be getting worse, like, as the hours roll by. More and more people are being taken down.
Yeah.
Well, censorship.
I mean, let's.
Is it censorship
if
it's private property?
It's a fine line, and there's arguments that are, I'm going to say, at least at this point, valid on both sides of the argument. In one argument, yes, private property. You want to ban somebody, you go ahead, right?
Right.
The other side of the coin is this is a newspaper, right?
What is?
Well, all these social media companies, right? They're the modern equivalent of the newspaper, in my opinion.
No, because newspapers are edited. There's an editor. Somebody oversees the entire
somebody
publication.
Somebody is now editing these social media companies.
They are, but after the fact.
Right? So, but my point is that they are the equivalent of newspapers. Not only are they social media in where, like, you and I could talk to each other, or we could talk about how, Bob and Sally broke up, whatever, right? All the drama in people's lives and talk about fun stuff. But, like, they're also carrying news. And so, to me, they are the equivalent of the modern-day newspaper. Now, do newspapers have the ability, right, if you will, to censor anybody that they want to because they're private property?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so then the same applies here. But I do look at this as...
But I don't know if censoring is the right word.
It certainly feels like censorship.
Yeah, I mean, generally censorship is associated with government action.
Right.
Because you can have your own newspaper, you can have your own website. So it's like, it's not that you're prevented, at least in the United States at this time. Now, that may change coming up this year, but at this time, you're not prevented from holding contrary opinions.
Right.
It's just that the establishment is now coming after you for it. So you're being kicked off of sites like Twitter and Facebook, and we saw last night how the owner of Gab has been targeted by Visa, has been basically told, you're never going to have credit card processing again. So there are some pretty nasty ways.
Which, by the way, only bodes well if they take the same approach that Pornhub did.
Yeah.
And go, well, okay,
crypto
we'll just accept
only.
crypto only.
Yeah.
Right? It seems to be
It's the no-brainer.
It's totally the no-brainer.
I mean, you'd have to be a fool not to.
But, like, I'm sort of I suffer from a dichotomy with some of this stuff, right? Like the protests, if you want to call it that, or the assault on the Capitol, whatever folks are calling it. It's like, on one hand, I'm really glad to see a whole bunch of people taking over a government building, right?
Sure.
I was glad to see the same thing with the BLM protests and all the stuff that went down in Minnesota and Minneapolis specifically with the burning of the police station and that kind of a thing. I'm like, oh, finally, they're targeting the right people. You know, so
which lasted for like one night, and then they went and they burned down a bunch of private businesses, which was not cool.
Right. And so, like, on one hand, I'm glad to see some of this. I'm glad to see a number of people gathering together and showing the true power of people in numbers.
But the goals,
however, right, if your goal is to, we want Trump in the chair, well, you're barking up the wrong freaking tree, in my opinion. And if your goal is, we want Biden in the chair, you're also barking up the wrong tree. What needs to happen, in my opinion, is these folks need to come together and realize who their common enemy is. That common enemy, of course, is the organization commonly referred to as government.
Yeah, well, that would be nice. Unfortunately, the government has, for a long time, done a good job of sort of indoctrinating people to believe that it's that other guy over there that's the problem, and vice versa. So it's the other guys that fight each other. They square off, and they say, well, I'm the blue guy, and I'm the red guy, and then they just hate each other. And you're right. It would be interesting if people could see past this whole two-party system.
Would be scarier to the establishment, in my opinion. By the establishment, I mean government and everybody who's sort of behind that type of thing, whether it's controlled by corporations, or partially controlled by corporations and all that kind of thing.
I don't think it's going to happen, though, Captain.
Nothing would be scarier than for the left and the right to unite together to fight the power, as it were.
I don't think it'll ever happen because they all want power. So until those people are willing to let go of the desire to want to control their neighbor, that's never going to happen. They're never going to come together because all they see is, well, now the bad gang has the power and our gang should take control so we can wield our violence against the bad gang, and then we'll be in control and bad gang will be stopped. Of course, the other side thinks the other side's the bad gang, so they're constantly doing this. And so instead of, like, when the bad gang gets in control, whether it be Trump in 2016 or Biden here in 2020, instead of, like, saying, you know what, let's let the gang have that turf and go over here and do our thing. No, we got to redouble our efforts and retake the turf. We've got to kick that other gang out of there. And so I think that the best bet is to have the gang separate. I mean, I don't think that they're ever going to, break down whatever walls exist between them. I mean, while I would like to see what you're saying come to fruition and people realize their shared humanity and understand that trying to use violence against one another is, it's counterintuitive, it's counterproductive, and hurts everybody. I don't think people are ready to have that happen in their lives. So it probably makes more sense for them to just break it up, guys, and say, you go over here and we'll go over there, and bye-bye.
As a bit of an idealist, I'm like, why not both?
Well, yeah.
Why can't we have humanity all sort of come together and recognize that this organization type known as government is antique, barbaric, and really doesn't need to exist in the current state of humanity.
Sure.
And if everybody could just realize, and then also, hey, you know what? If you want to hang out with a bunch of people that, you find are like-minded, maybe their philosophies match yours or their lifestyle matches yours or whatever, then you should be able to do so, of course, because you're a free person. And if that means, hey, this group of people is going to go live over here and this group of people is going to live over here and another group over yonder, then far out, solid, and right on. Why can't we have both?
Yeah, and we've been talking about secession, declaring independence, calling it a day from this whole United States experiment, which, can anyone actually say that this has been a success, that the United States has been a success?
Not based on the evidence, they can't.
I mean, there are some ways in which, because of the past and the relative freedoms the United States had, then yeah, I mean, so for instance, we've had at some time relative market freedom, not free markets, but more so than some other places on the planet. And
80%
so therefore,
free market, something like that.
Yeah, and so therefore, depending on which market segment you're in, some more regulated than others, but therefore, we've had a relatively successful kind of economic situation here where we've become pretty wealthy. I mean, all things considered, right? Like we've got things we take for granted, like heat and air conditioning and cars and running water and sanitation and
toilets.
And, things like that are very, very nice to have. Still, some parts of the planet, they're not there yet. So, there's definitely some good things about being here. Freedom of speech generally has worked pretty well over time. But the whole thing with, people being together and getting along, now that hasn't happened. And people are more divided now, I think, than they've ever been. Or at least that's the way it seems in my lifetime. And that doesn't seem to be
cheering for the other team's demise, so it seems. Or not everybody, but the most vocal of people. And that's another thing that I struggle with, too, is because the loud people generally get the attention, right? Squeaky wheel, all that kind of thing. So the loudest people on the left, the loudest people on the right. And then if somebody says something similar to one of those two loud people, then the rest of the humans on the planet automatically categorize them as that. Oh, you said something that sounded similar to the far right guy. You're a far right guy, right? And then you get the label put on you, even though you might not be. You might be a centrist. You might be an anarchist. We don't know.
Well, we're going to continue here, and we also have the latest on Julian Assange coming up. There's an update. You're saying it's not good news, Captain. We'll get into that. And the number is 603-283-6160 if you want to join us here live Saturday episode, 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk live Saturday episode here. The number for you is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
We've talked about Divvy here on Free Talk Live for more than a year. They've been a great sponsor, and we're happy to be involved with them. They've got a cryptocurrency that you might want to take a look at, and you can do more learning about that over at diviproject.org, diviproject.org. That's also where you can connect directly with the Divvy team through their Telegram channel if you need some help, say, setting up a Divvy masternode. But you honestly aren't going to need that much help because it's super easy to do. I've been through some masternode setups with different cryptos, and this one's the easiest, hands down. It's
Learn the Divvy.
Yeah, diviproject.org. Now, you do need to acquire Divvy in order to start a masternode, and the best way to do that is getting it directly from them. Now, there are, it's available on some exchanges, but it's best if you buy what they call over-the-counter by buying it straight from the Divvy team.
Divvy OTC.
Diviproject.org, diviproject.org. We go to your phone calls and thoughts. If we get the chance, we'll get into what happened with Julian Assange. Of course, people have this whole DC situation, all the, the deplatforming, the takedowns, all of that. That's on people's minds. So if you want to comment, we spent all 3 hours on the show last night talking about.
I didn't get to hear last night's show yet.
Deplatforming.
I'm behind, but I'm sure I saw some great memes coming out of it, though. Something really? About, did you see how the far right proved that walls are ineffective?
By scaling at the side of the Capitol.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Let's talk to Tom in New Hampshire. First up, Tom, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and the Captain.
First of all, I got to love it how in Trump's speech, by the way, he said, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. And the fact that he used the word peacefully, that may actually do him some good in court, but it doesn't seem to be doing him much good with some of his supporters in Congress. But it cracks me up because he says, we're going to walk down there, any one of you, and I'll be right there with you. And, he says he's going to be with them.
He never was.
Nope.
And then he gets into a motorcade and takes off. And, it just more
he meant I'll be
nonsense.
with you in spirit, right?
I made a comment on the interwebs that while this thing was going on at its peak, that if Donald Trump showed up, like everybody to a person that was there would have parted like the Red Sea and allowed His Majesty to saunter on through, put him in the chair, crowned his ass, and called him king and started kneeling to him.
Yeah, and see, he has so many supporters despite because he has so many people voting for him because he says what they want to hear, even though they know it's not really true. It gives them this chance to relax their mind and escape reality by listening to Trump with all the stuff. I think a lot of them know that it's nonsense, but they get to pretend it anyway. They want to pretend that he won the election when he didn't. And, we have to defend our country, and we got to protect our Constitution. Hello? You want to protect the Constitution? The Constitution says the President of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted.
Never forget.
That's and they're going to protect it by preventing that from happening. Yeah. But the people, members of Congress, all they're doing is babbling and scribbling anyway. They're not really the enemy. It wasn't really.
They're not.
I'm glad that no members of Congress got hurt. It was only a cop that got killed.
First of all, I just want to say, never forget that the first part of the Constitution is con.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom, for the call tonight. I appreciate it.
The second part I'd like to say is that while this whole, whatever you want to call it, the siege on the way, whatever, was going down, what I really liked seeing was all of these politicians cowering in fear.
Yeah.
That was particularly near and dear to my heart.
True colors.
Yeah.
So 603-283-6160. Yeah, those cowards, that's all they really are. And so, I mean, Tom was giving him a pass there, and it's like, I understand he blames the police, and that's what he's. I don't know if you heard his comment. It was sort of underneath what we were saying, but he said that he was glad politicians didn't die. It was only a cop or something like that. He always calls very anti-cop, and I get the frustrations with the police. I get it. I really do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the police are acting out what these politicians have ordered them to do. That doesn't make it okay what the cops do. It doesn't. That didn't exonerate the people at Nuremberg, and it shouldn't. You have at every moment as a police officer or anybody working for so-called government or authority or whatever you want to call it, you have at every moment the freedom to choose to not do it, the freedom to choose to walk away, to go home, to refuse to enforce bad laws or any combination of those things. And as long as you continue to do what you're told, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about the situation with police and how folks are always saying things like, well, it's just a few bad. No, it's not. You can take the most moral, the most upstanding, the highest philosophical type person and give them a job as a police officer, and they will immediately, if not sooner, violate their own personal code, their morals, their philosophies, just by being a police officer. So the problem isn't the people are bad. The problem is that the profession itself is what is bad, because it is a government entity, and government doesn't own anything, doesn't make anything, doesn't create anything. It only takes from other people, keeps a big chunk for themselves, and then gives a bunch of it to their other friends.
Pretty much.
Same is true for every organization.
And the cops exist to protect that system.
Yes.
That's why there's so many angry people this week. In fact, there was actually a story I had in show prep by, I think, the Houston Chronicle, looking at the right-wingers who are upset at how the police were treating them. Well, surprise, surprise, you can wave all the flags you want with thin blue lines on them, and it ain't going to stop them from arresting you.
But I got a sticker with a thin blue line on it. Why are they treating me this way?
Right. It's not going to stop them from, throwing you to the pavement and putting you in handcuffs, and if you're lucky, not smashing your head up against the curb while they're at it. I saw a pretty entertaining meme. I mean, sad, but entertaining meme. The woman that got shot in the throat during this whole situation inside the Capitol building. It was an image of that thin blue line flag, sort of the darkened American flag, and then there's that one blue line that sort of goes horizontally across the flag. So the blue line, as it's going across the flag, contacts a silhouette of a woman in her neck, and then out the back it turns red.
That's entertaining.
Oh man,
that's entertaining.
Somebody was pretty creative.
That's creative too.
With that one. Let's talk to David. He's in Michigan. David, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Go ahead, David.
You think about the money that flows in and out of Washington, D.C. with all of the, let's just take a rep or a senator with a couple $100,000 to start, plus expense accounts and influence over hundreds of trillions of dollars of fake money. $20 trillion we owe?
You don't owe that, do you?
Oh, gosh darn it.
I don't owe
that.
And
recently, the cryptocurrency now hit 1,000 per coin.
Oh, that was so last week.
Yeah, it's 40,000.
It's up to 40,000 right now, David. And that's Bitcoin specifically, not all of crypto. Although all of cryptocurrency did surpass $1 trillion in market cap this week, which is the first time that has ever happened. Thank you, David, for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. 603-283-6160. But his point about, the debt, we don't owe that. I didn't agree to it.
Well, the government's banking on their hallucination for your grandchildren to pay that back.
Yeah, screw that. The more we can get out of the government money system and get into alternatives like cryptocurrency, like gold or silver, the more we can protect our wealth from the ravages of these politicians.
Doodle, Stuart, Harold, and Pork Chop. Pork Chop, his beautiful blonde coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. They did a DNA test on the 4 rescues. The first year is just a complete retraining. Lots of love, discipline, and daily upkeep. I'm a registered nurse and a personal trainer. If I eat healthy, then my dog should eat healthy. DINOVITE.com. They need the vitamins and minerals that Dynovite provides.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Harold, the Border Collie Pit Mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. Doodle, he's a poodle cocker spaniel. His energy is tremendous. The Dynovite will make your dog happy, vivacious, jump up and down, wag their tails. It will make you smile.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynovite at DINOVITE.com.
Retail giant CVS is gearing up for floods of customers seeking the perfect meaningless piece of crap for their office gift swap. The company is making no secret that when it comes to wasting the obligatory $20 on a useless electronic dartboard or pretzel maker for someone you couldn't care less about, CVS is your best option.
Our incredible selection of worthless shit is just the thing that nobody wants. We guarantee you'll find nothing personal or unique in our store.
The company is offering massive discounts on otherwise unsellable items for holiday parties you don't even want to go to, like the $12 decorative lantern, which is expected to be a big hit with customers who grab the first thing they see when they walk in the store.
I really wanted to get something that said, I don't care about any of you people and I didn't put any effort into this.
CVS also has Hanukkah gifts for coworkers who you think might be Jewish, like candles and those little plastic net bags full of chocolate money.
This is the Onion News Network.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live, the live Saturday episode of the program. Open phones, as always, at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you want to reach people with the ideas of liberty, you can do it from the back of your car with libertystickers.com. You can reach thousands of people with a bumper sticker, and you know that people love to read them. So check out the vast selection of witty, poignant, pithy, and downright bombastic liberty-oriented messages at libertystickers.com. Plus, they do custom work. So if let's say you got a business you want to promote, maybe an event or something, if anybody's making events anymore, perhaps you have a political candidate that you want to get out there, whatever. They'll do whatever you want over at libertystickers.com. We're going to go to your calls and thoughts. You want to comment on what's been going on this week with the crazy deplatforming, the raiding of the Capitol, and where, by the way, I did hear allegations are that some of the protesters smeared feces on the insides of the walls.
Oh, did they get all primate?
Yeah, allegedly. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But
I heard that some of the protesters, the way they got in was that there were off-duty police officers amongst the crowd who flashed their badges and were like, "Hey, we're cops." And so then somehow that's how, the guards are like, "Oh, well, cool, right, let's just open the gates for you and let you in."
Well, there was a police chief from this region of New Hampshire. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did, actually, yeah. Former police chief, right?
No, I believe he's the current police chief of Troy, New Hampshire. His name's Dave Ellis. And now he was not allegedly inside the Capitol, but he was one of the protesters there. And there's just all this uproar about the fact that he was just even there. And it's like,
you were in D.C. It's
he's not. Man. People are calling for him to resign. And it's like, wait, he's not supposed to have an opinion?
I had 2 live feeds going on behind me as I was doing some other work of, YouTubers, basically, right? Got people who were just at the protest or whatever you want to call it, the gathering,
the break-in,
the siege, whatever,
the retaking of your own property, maybe that way. I don't know.
I did want to point out, people keep calling that thing that the guy took a podium. Mm-hmm. It's not a podium. It's I forgot the word.
A lectern?
A lectern, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a lectern.
What's the difference between a lectern and a podium?
Well, a lectern is kind of like a music stand. It's it's got like one pole and then a thing that you can set a thing on. Whereas a podium is like the whole, it kind of covers, it's the full rectangle that kind of covers most of your body.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to point that out because people kept going, that dude got away with a podium. And then I saw pictures later on of like him and 3 of his friends. Like somebody had painted a mural of the guy with the podium behind them, and they were posing in front of the mural. So yeah, it's been an interesting week.
Let's go to Ago calling us from Holland, Michigan, listening to WHTC there. Go ahead, Ago.
Oh, hi, guys. Thanks for calling. Let me call and talk to our great nation. Anyways, back in 2005, I was a detainee by the federal government, Department of Justice, by the Bureau of Prisons. I was held in a place called the U.S. Medical Center for Federal Prisoners. I was just a detainee. That's located in building 10, Springfield, Missouri. Anyways, what they're doing is, at least then, they were using people for human experimentation.
Now, hold on a second.
And,
why did they...
just like they did in Nazi Germany back in 1933, 1945. And,
Ago.
They test drugs on human beings.
Ago.
I told the judge in Grand Rapids Michigan about it. I said they're sticking
Can you hear
these guys turning to vegetables and so forth. And
Ago?
Orson calling Ago.
It's going to be one of those calls, isn't it?
People in America should be aware that.
It's going to be one of those calls where they just keep talking. And
what is it with these people who think that that's going to have, any kind of an effect at all?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ago.
He's done now.
Are you there?
No. He
is there.
Can we have a conversation now?
We'd like to actually talk to you. Is that all right?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. So you said you were taken by the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Prisons, and held in a concentration camp of some sort for medical experimentation.
That's what it is. Yeah, it's like Nazi Germany. You wouldn't believe what they do.
Okay, but how did this come about?
Right. What did they detain you for?
Did they grab you off the streets? Was there a sham show trial before they put you into this system?
Oh no, they don't believe in presumption of innocence and all that kind of stuff. They just send you down there to use as guinea pigs and. They put you on drugs. They force you to take all kinds of drugs. They have armed guards and so forth. And
what did they say that you did before you were captured and put into this camp?
Well, they made a trumped-up allegation. We've got a system of legal slavery here in the United States, and there's a lot of people working for a little bit of money, and it's been being done deliberately. Our Congressman Peter Hoekstra, years ago, he's a master to... the Netherlands now is in favor of what's called prison labor, but they've got all these...
why did they let you out?
The United States.
Ago, why did they let you out?
Yes, sir.
And when?
Well, I was there for about 4 months. I became a vegetable, and then they just dumped me in the streets in Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the middle of wintertime.
Wow.
No, they gave me no money, nothing. I had to go to a rescue mission in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they gave me money from the Red Cross to get back to Holland.
It's a wild
Made me
story.
homeless.
So is there any way to prove that you were actually in the place that you say that you were, besides what you say?
Yeah, I had a court-appointed attorney in Grand Rapids and so forth, and I met people that were tortured like Otto Wambir by the North Koreans, and I won't mention the person's name, but they turned him into a vegetable. He became paralyzed. They take you in the back room and they beat you.
Now, when they say they turned you into a vegetable, is that like a squash? Is it a zucchini? Maybe some celery?
No, they do. It's called a chemical lobotomy. The most famous person to have a lobotomy was a scalpel was President Kennedy's sister Kathleen. Now they use chemicals. They're called.
Did you say lobotomy? Is that the word you're saying? I'm not hearing the word. Chemical what?
Chemical lobotomy. Yeah, they use chemicals now instead of a scalpel.
Lobotomy?
I think he's saying lobotomy. But hey, thank you. It's a horrifying story, Ago, and I do appreciate hearing from you. And it's hard to validate things like that, right? Like if somebody says they were kidnapped and held for 4 months, and then dumped into the streets. I mean, how do you verify that?
I don't. I don't know what to believe from this guy. We'd need to see some.
Well, that's the
further
thing. You
evidence
can't.
to back
There's
him
no
up,
evidence. He says he was abducted and held against his will.
I certainly wouldn't put it past the organization known as government, because they've already done things like that. Tuskegee, anyone?
Yeah, they've done it before. They'll do it again. Now, the Tuskegee was against their own military men, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy says he was
But they've
just snatched
experimented
up.
on people before, and they'll do it again.
Oh, certainly.
It's not like there's no precedent for it. People get all, oh my gosh, they're abducting. Well, yeah, of course, they're a government. That's what they do.
Speaking of being held against your will, what about Julian Assange? There was a story recently that seemed optimistic. He's been in custody of one sort or another for most of the last decade. Was in a Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years or something like that. Finally got out of there, but unfortunately was brought right into the welcoming arms of the UK government that then locked him up for more than a year before ultimately having extradition hearings as to whether or not he would be extradited to the United States to face charges of essentially assisting the enemy or espionage or something like that.
Somehow it's treason, even though he's not a U.S. citizen, so I don't understand how that can even be a charge. But yeah, he was awaiting extradition to the U.S., and the UK, the judge in question, was like, hey, we're not going to extradite him because we're worried about the United States' ability to prevent him from committing suicide. Now, the words that were said, I'm reading between the lines here a little bit, led me to believe that they were concerned about the United States' ability to prevent him from committing suicide because of things like Epstein, for example, or other folks of, sort of political prominence that you may have committed suicide while being held captive, and somehow the cameras were all turned off when it happened and nobody saw it, and that kind of a thing. So the judge was like, hey, we're not going to extradite him. And the way it was presented, at least in the article that we covered here on the show, it sounded like he was going to be able to get out, at least on bail. But that doesn't seem to be the case, sadly.
All right. We'll find out more about it coming up here. 603-283-6160. What's the excuse to continue holding this man who has done no actual crime, who has only given information out, information that damages the legitimacy of the status quo in the state? More coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited if you want to join us here. Saturday edition. We're here live. 603-283-6160 is our number. It's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And the captain.
And, of course, you can bring up anything that's on your mind. We have stuff to talk about. We're talking right now about Julian Assange, the heroic man who put forward all kinds of useful information that he was given by people like, well, then Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning,
right?
Exposing the misdeeds and the ugliness of the underbelly of that which is the state. In this case, the state of the United States. But he also exposed at WikiLeaks a variety of other state actors and other governments all around the world. So it wasn't like he just targeted the United States. And so, sure enough, all those governments are working together to try to put him into a cage. At least in this case, the UK government and the US government. Assange has been in custody in the UK's Belmarsh prison, which is, I believe, a maximum security facility, even though he actually hasn't been accused of any crime in the UK, with the exception of missing court, which was the reason why they did lock him up after he got out of the Ecuadorian embassy. He was trying to avoid being extradited to, I believe it was Sweden at that time, to face what were allegedly false rape charges that were ultimately dropped.
Right.
But because, even though the charges were dropped, because he missed court, government doesn't like it when you miss court, and they will punish you for it. And
they
that's
probably
why,
didn't tell him when the day was, and they were like, "Oh, you missed it."
And then they said, "Well, now you're going to get to sit there for a year." And so he's done that year at this point, but they're still not letting him out, even though a judge recently said that that he should not be extradited to the United States because they didn't believe the U.S. could prevent him from killing himself. So basically saying, well, our government's prisons are better than the U.S. prisons. So it's not about like they care about his liberty or his humanity or anything like that. You know, they just don't want him to be able to kill himself.
That's what they said. They said, I mean, if you don't read between the lines, they said something like, we're concerned because he seems to be in a depressed mood, and we're concerned about the United States' ability to prevent him from committing suicide, something like that.
That's what they said.
I'm paraphrasing there. But if you read between the lines, they're like, yeah, we're not so sure that you're going to get him, and he's not going to, quote, commit suicide, unquote, right? Kind of hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they really meant, but the way it comes off is not that they care about Assange. You know, they just want him, if he's going to be in the U.S.'s custody, they want him to be punished. That's what they're saying. I mean, like, if you're not reading between the lines or whatever and speculating, it's saying, well, we want you to be able to keep him alive so he can stay in a jail cell for the rest of his life, which is pretty sick. You know,
either way, it's lose-lose for the guy who did, in my opinion, nothing wrong.
No, I would say he did everything right, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So the article that we covered previously on Free Talk Live, we covered an article that, mentioned that he would be able to, that they were going to set some bail, and he might even be able to like walk free.
Yeah.
And that kind of a
at
thing.
Least
or
walk
at
on
least
bail.
on bail, right?
Yeah.
But this from Mint Press News on January 6th. A United Kingdom court has ruled that WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange must remain in prison despite an earlier ruling that he could not be extradited to the United States.
Okay, why?
Explaining her decision, District Judge Vanessa Baratzer.
Same one, same judge.
Yeah, her name is just insane for a Judge Baratzer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, said that as far as Mr. Assange is concerned, this case has not been won, adding that the United States must be allowed to appeal her earlier decision. Part of the ruling was based upon her assessment of the Australian publisher being a serious flight risk if released, noting that he had huge support networks that could help him should he again choose to go to ground. I think she means underground.
Yeah, or run.
Yeah. Right, yeah, flight, right, disobey, as it were. The court's decision was immediately panned by journalists and press freedom organizations who had hoped to see Assange released today. That was a couple days ago. After 7 years in prison and hiding in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, to us, that is nothing more than a pretext to keep him detained.
And for how long? How long is it going to take for the U.S. to file their appeal and for the appeal date to get set? And because everything's taking longer due to COVID, right? Courts have already been slow prior to COVID, and now they have this excuse that just lets them do whatever they want on whatever time frame that they want to.
This seems unnecessarily punitive and adding insult to injury after the 10 years of hell that he has endured. We are deeply disappointed with today's decision, said Rebecca Vincent, Reporters Without Borders Director of International Campaigns outside the courtroom.
Sad.
Vincent had been denied entry to the courtroom today, as had some of Assange's relatives. She also faced questioning and harassment from police, who used their new powers under UK's lockdown laws.
New powers. What do they have now?
To break up pro-Assange demonstrations, even arresting a 92-year-old man.
Oh, my God. So that's definitely what we're talking about. So their new excuse for breaking up protests is, you can't be too close together.
COVID.
Yep. Nope. You cannot be nearby another human being in public, so therefore no more right to assembly. Is what they're saying. They actually arrested a guy for giving hugs recently as well. Did you see that video?
Yeah.
That happened.
That's so dumb.
He was giving hugs to people who were consenting to receive them.
Right. Hey, do you want a hug? Yes, I do. Yeah. Okay, great. Oh, you're under arrest.
Yes, that's how it went.
There's nothing human about that.
And now they're arresting a 92-year-old man.
92-year-old man who was part of the protest or part of the Assange, support outside.
That's how bad they are. That's how desperate they are. That's how willing they are to be seen being absolute tyrants. Because the power of an elderly person doing civil disobedience. Now, whether this man intended to be arrested is another question, but he was at least intending to put himself out there in harm's way. Because whenever you do a protest, the police could show up, you could be going to jail. I mean, that's just the reality of it. If they want to cook up charges against you, they will. So he took that risk, and it's a very brave thing to do because, obviously you're a little more fragile as a human body at an age like 92.
Oh, for sure.
Which is why it looks really bad when the police will arrest a 92-year-old man. Usually they'll do everything within their power to not arrest an elderly man or woman because it looks really bad. The fact that they're willing to do it when there's other people around, nonetheless, is just a real indicator of how total tyrannical state that people are living in.
Assange's lawyer, Edward Fitzgerald QC, expressed his disappointment at the news that his client would be heading back to Belmarsh Prison in South London. The logical outcome of the ruling would be he regains liberty at least conditionally, he stated.
Well, apparently logic did not rule this outcome.
Assange's colleagues in alternative media were also quick to condemn Baratzer's ruling. The judge's decision against bailing Assange only fuels the theory that this prosecution is about keeping a publisher who the U.S. government despises tied up in limbo so he cannot effectively challenge them ever again, said Kevin Gostola. This is absolutely outrageous for the judge to deny Assange bail and to claim that Belmarsh is doing a fine job of handling COVID even while London is on lockdown, quote unquote.
Wow.
There are no charges pending against Julian Assange in the UK. Period. End of statement. There are no.
Yeah. He's just being held.
Has no reason to keep him other than we're holding him for the U.S.
Yeah. The governments are doing other governments' bidding.
For no reason.
No, the reason is because they scratch each other's back.
Well, right, but usually they at least manufacture some reason.
Well, they are. The manufactured reason is something called extradition. That's where one government asks for a favor, and government B says, yep, okay, we'll do that for you, but, we're going to ask you for a favor someday. And then they ask for a similar favor. And that's how it goes.
A UK judge denied the U.S.'s request to extradite him, the only place where charges are pending. Despite this, the judge just ruled he must remain imprisoned in a COVID-ridden high-security prison while the U.S. appeals. Added Glenn Greenwald. This shows how authoritarian the British judiciary is. The only thing the U.S. cares about is keeping Assange in a cage, silenced and disappeared. This gives them the best of all worlds. He stays in prison with no need to prove he's guilty of anything. That's despotic.
Pre-trial punishment.
Yeah. Particularly high-security prison, HMP Belmarsh is generally considered the UK's most notorious jail.
Yeah. Yep.
Taking in prisoners from around the country that other prisons cannot handle. The government's 2019 report on conditions inside the facility noted it was overrun with 120 violent gangs.
Wow.
121, actually, if you include the government.
Yeah.
And there were 161 recorded inmate assaults on staff.
Right, so, we need to put this computer geek in there. Because that makes sense.
Inmates have been largely locked down in their cells, typically for 23 hours a day since the advent of
so
COVID.
It's not that different than outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not be locked down 23 hours a day elsewhere, but...
You get an hour of yard time, as they call it.
They're taking away yard time these days in a lot of places.
Well, yeah,
We're coming up, 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Hour 2's next. It's Free Talk Live. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Backlash for the social media companies. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. The social media company's decision to suspend President Trump's account is receiving widespread criticism.
The move by Twitter and others to ban President Trump's accounts have some accusing the big tech companies of double standards. The acting commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection saying conservatives and the Trump administration are constantly being censored by big tech companies, while he says the same actions are rarely taken against liberals.
This is about individuals in position of power that has a different political ideologic viewpoint and opinion than others, and when that happens, they try to shut us down.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and a number of other social media platforms suspending President Trump's accounts on their platforms.
Fox's Charles Watson. Democrats plan to introduce an article of impeachment in the U.S. House Monday, saying President Trump was responsible for enticing the mob attack on the U.S. Capitol. But some Republicans, like Florida Congressman Matt Waltz, say the action is just going to stir the pot.
The rhetoric over the last few days of impeachment, 25th Amendment, going after the president with just a few days left in his term, that does nothing to simmer things down.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, in an online video to her constituents, accused the Trump supporters who rioted of choosing what she calls their whiteness over democracy. The State Department is voiding long-standing restrictions on how U.S. diplomats have contact with their counterparts in Taiwan. It's the latest move to likely upset China. On Thursday, the Trump administration announced that UN Ambassador Kelly Craft would go to Taiwan, a move that sparked strong criticism from Beijing and a warning that the U.S. would pay a heavy price. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office, 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Several Trump administration staff members have announced their resignation. Former Health and Human Services Secretary under President Trump, Tom Price, believes the resignations could complicate a smooth transition.
In the wisest way and the most effective manner through this transition, which is clearly going to happen, and we want it to be as seamless and peaceful as possible, then having leaders of departments and agencies stick around, I think, is the most appropriate way to proceed.
Price speaking to Fox's Neil Cavuto. Recreational marijuana becoming more and more popular in one Northeast state.
It hasn't been a huge rollout, but the state of Maine is seeing steady increases in sales since approving recreational marijuana back in 2016. It took 4 years for Maine lawmakers to put together a system for legal pot that finally went online this past October with more than $1 million in sales, followed by $1.2 million in November and nearly $2 million in December. By comparison, sales in Massachusetts have topped $1 billion since 2018. Maine is now home to 15 marijuana stores. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
COVID-19 has claimed the life of a Tuskegee airman.
Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Lumpkin Jr., a native of Los Angeles, was one of the Tuskegee Airmen, the first black pilots to fly in what was then a segregated U.S. military. He went on to serve as an intel officer in Italy from February 1944 right up through VE Day. Lumpkin did.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
According to a study released Thursday by the Princeton University Department of Biology, this local 2-year-old woodland chipmunk has crafted a far more secure and dependable plan for the future than 8 out of 10 Americans. Reporters spoke to citizens to get their view on the study.
Clearly, this chipmunk is pretty impressive. I mean, he wakes up every morning and says, I need to collect acorns and berries for the winter. He sets goals for himself and he gets it done.
He has to make a burrow in a tree stump. That's exactly what he does. He doesn't pause and have a snack and lay around for a few hours.
Out of nearly 40 separate interviews with Americans, 33 told reporters they were very impressed by the chipmunk's continued display of foresight, personal responsibility, and pragmatic decision-making when considering his own future.
He's preparing for winter, he's building a home, and he's trying to get enough nutrients to make it throughout the rest of the day. All this while being worried about maybe getting eaten by a wolf or an owl or something. Earlier this week, the electricity went off in my home because I forgot to pay my bill. It's the second time this year.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk live Saturday show.
Show enough.
Well, we'll take your calls and your thoughts here. If you want, you can join us, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass is also here.
Indeed. We'll take your calls, your thoughts. I do want to start out, because obviously there's probably more to say about deplatforming and the insane stuff that's been going on online.
You had mentioned earlier about the 92-year-old guy that we were talking about getting arrested outside the Assange thing. I wanted to mention, too, because it brought this to mind. While the, whatever we're calling it in D.C. happened, the protest, riots, whatever, occupation, etc. and so on, one of the two broadcasters that I was live streaming in my living room said this. The thing was led by old men. Old men led the charge. Men with canes led the way for this to occur.
Into the Capitol, you mean?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And now, I don't know what he means by old, right? Because
if you got a cane, you're probably getting up there. Let's say 60 or up.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy probably maybe mid-30s, I'm guessing, based on, just my first impressions of him. So, old to him could be 45, but it could also be 92. But it was interesting to me that he that was me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, actually,
you hit the button.
Yeah.
I'm like looking around. Uh-oh.
It was
Go
it
ahead.
was interesting to me that he observed that this particular thing was led by old men.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Just a thing that I noticed.
Well, I support it. I mean, I think that being an elderly person and doing activism is like a 1-2 punch combo that the state they have a real tough time with it.
Yeah.
Because it looks terrible, as I was saying in the last hour, that if you arrest a 92, 80, 70-plus-year-old guy, the more old they look, the worse it is as far as a public relations nightmare for the state. But we may be to the point where the state just doesn't care how bad they look.
Well, and traditionally, the protests and things of that nature have been, at least in the United States, the youth, the college kids, the high school kids, that type of thing, the young adults. Generally, that's typically their ballpark. The old people stay out of it. So, if it's an indication of anything, I don't know. You make the call.
Things are changing, perhaps.
You make the call, but older people getting involved.
If you want to weigh in, you are welcome to do that. Our number is 603-283-6160. I was forwarded a message here that was, and I didn't check it, but allegedly written by Sophie Scholl of the White Rose. And it actually came, I think, from the White Rose group.
Okay.
So I believe that it probably is pretty original.
What it is.
This is, so for listeners that don't know, the White Rose is a group that actually has made a comeback this year, but it hadn't been around since the 1940s when it was originally formed in Nazi Germany as a counter-propaganda mission by a sister and brother combo. I forget the brother's name, but the Scholl sister and brother, their last name was Scholl.
Sure.
Sophie Scholl was the girl. And they printed up, propaganda that was against the Nazis and were very successful in distributing it. So successful that the Nazis hunted them down and put them to death, sadly. But nonetheless, it was a great project and one that was worthy of remembering and one that is worthy of bringing back. And so kudos to whoever it is that's behind this new White Rose, which you can join their Telegram channel at t.me/join the White Rose. They're doing some really interesting outreach where they have a series of stickers that you can get, like graphics that you can download, and then you print them onto stickers with a label printer. So there's like a 90 megabyte file just full of dozens of graphics.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Really like talented kind of meme style, funny yet sad yet poignant kind of graphics that'll hopefully get people to think when they see them. So I think this is some of the best activism going on right now. Like, this can be more important than a protest because you can reach people quietly and one person at a time when they see these messages. So if you haven't taken the time, go check out the White Rose. You do need to have the Telegram app in order to make this work, but you can go to t.me. So in your web browser, t.me/join the White Rose, all one word. And then that'll take you there.
So what was the thing they forwarded you?
So the statement from the original Sophie Scholl, quote, "The real damage is done by those millions who want to, quote, survive. The honest men who just want to be left in peace. Those who don't want their little lives disturbed by anything bigger than themselves. Those with no sides and no causes. Those who won't take measure of their own strength for fear of antagonizing their own weakness. Those who don't like to make waves or enemies. Those for whom freedom, honor, truth, and principles are only literature. Those who live small, mate small, die small. It's the reductionist approach to life. If you keep it small, you'll keep it under control. If you don't make any noise, the boogeyman won't find you. But it's all an illusion, because they die too. Those people who roll up their spirits into tiny little balls so as to be safe. Safe? From what? Life is always on the edge of death. Narrow streets lead to the same place as wide avenues, and a little candle burns itself out just like a flaming torch does. I choose my own way to burn." I just thought that was really nice.
Nice.
Very, very, very beautiful. Well thought. Arguing that, maybe you should live.
It hits home a little bit.
Yeah.
For the longest,
instead of cowering.
For the longest time, I was just, going about my life, doing my thing, paying my taxes.
Yep.
Muh taxes. And, largely ignoring politics, largely ignoring the system. And it wasn't until, I decided to go on this, I'll call it a journey of self-discovery, right? Because I found myself with a bunch of time in the internet, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to find out, where do I fall on this political spectrum? And I did a bunch of looking and reading and watching, and it was sort of the dawn of the YouTube, the celebritarians and all that kind of stuff was coming up. I discovered Free Talk Live through that avenue, a bunch of other folks, authors and speakers and philosophers and things of that nature. And I discovered that I was none of the above.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a Republican. I was not a Democrat. I was not a large L libertarian. I was not a Tea Partier. I was not a centrist. I in fact, had existed as an anarchist unbeknownst to me from the ages of 16 through almost 19. Living, without identification, outside the system, working, living, getting by, all that kind of a thing. So, at times I'll refer to myself as the accidental anarchist because when I figured out what I was, which was none of the above, the only term that could aptly be applied would be an anarchist. And so I was like, well, I was already that except a while ago, before I started paying taxes and all that kind of stuff and being a, quote, legitimate, unquote, human being according to the system. And so I discovered all of that. And then it was like, well, what do I do about it? And for a while, I just sort of struggled with it. It's like, well, I still want to live my life. I still want to do the things that I love and all that kind of stuff. And the longer time went on, the more it just sort of ate at me because it was like I made this discovery that a lot of people don't make. And the first thing I wanted to do was yell it from the rooftops. And, of course, that went over not well with all of my friends and family and all that kind of thing because I'm like, hey, everybody, I've discovered that this system is awful and horrible and it does nothing but horrible things and it's based on immorality, and everybody's like, shut up and just go do your job. And,
I'm missing my TV show. Quiet.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. How, I was taken aback. And so it took me a while, but I don't think I can do nothing again. I can't go back. I can't. Yeah. It's like that guy in the Matrix. Why, oh, why didn't I take the blue pill? Right? I can't
get unplugged or you can't plug back in or whatever.
I can't. And like sometimes this happens with people in the liberty community. They'll identify themselves as like an anarchist, for example, and then they'll go back to being statist. Somehow. And it's like, I don't think you can if you ever really were an anarchist. I don't think that you can actually go back. I don't think it's possible.
I don't know. I've seen so many people do it.
Once you're awake, you're awake. I mean, maybe they do in act and in function, but in mind, I don't think they ever can.
I don't know. 603-283-6160. I want to believe what you're saying, Captain, but I mean, people like Chris Cantwell went back and I've seen others do it too who should have known better, and there's just no explaining it besides that they just changed their mind and they decided they wanted power. More coming up.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
When you're coping with bad news and the news media come calling, and they will, don't clam up. As notorious political figures find out the hard way, the cover-up can be worse than the crime. So get out in front of unfavorable news about your company, your group, or organization, or yourself. The sooner you confront a negative story, the sooner it will be over. Responding as quickly to negative stories as you do to positive ones enhances your credibility. Hiding embarrassing information or lying will do more damage than damage control. Never stonewall. Tell your side of the story, use specifics, and detail what corrective action has already been taken. Respond in kind. If the issue is emotional, don't sound like a cold, unemotional Mr. Spock. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, Saturday show. Open phones, as always. We're here live. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And in the studio tonight, Ian and the Captain, as normal, are being joined by a special guest host who just, showed up.
Stone.
L. Stone, welcome back.
Thanks.
From somewhere in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in the area. I just had dinner, stopped in here.
Where were you having dinner?
I just got some Burger King. Some chicken
Oh, boo. Traitor.
Thought you might have been at the Keene Great.
Yeah, you're not spending crypto and you're in Keene?
No, actually, I just did a show on Freedom Decrypted, co-hosted with
cool.
Chris.
Oh, nice. That's a good show.
We just finished up. I was headed out, grabbed some dinner, stopped in here. Yeah.
Doing the circuit tonight, then.
Apparently. Yeah.
FreedomDecrypted.com is the number. So we're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts here. But first, I do want to tell you about Bitcoin.com. If you've heard the news about Bitcoin, it's been setting record highs.
Hard to not hear about it. People I know that aren't even into Bitcoin are texting me like, hey, congrats on that Bitcoin, bro. Mm-hmm. Well done. Like, they don't even know.
Yep. $40,979 right now is the price of Bitcoin. Also, price of Bitcoin Cash had a little boost up
sure
today.
Did.
As well. So that's nice to see happen. Let's see. Where's Bitcoin Cash at right now?
$500?
Looks like, over 500. $571 for one Bitcoin Cash. I actually had a lady, I did a giveaway of both Dash and Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah.
Like over the last 2 or 3 years here in the Keene, New Hampshire area. I was running ads on the radio here, just trying to get people who'd never been into crypto before to try it out. Hey, you send me your wallet addresses, or I'll help you get a wallet, because some people need their hands held through it, right? Help you get a wallet, you install it, and then give me your Dash and Bitcoin Cash address, and I'll send you some free crypto. And the crypto that I sent was about $50 worth at the time. And now it's over $100 worth.
Nice.
So,
great.
Yeah,
Nice.
if they held on to it. I mean, they may or may not have, right? So, all right, 603-283-6160. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. Then we'll talk about some of this crazy deplatforming that's been going on here over just the last 24 hours, let alone the last 4 years. It's really gotten accelerated within the last 24 to 48 hours. But let's go to Jet first. He's in Vegas. Jet, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hello. Yeah, I wanted to pass on 3 little quick tips.
Number one, never say my taxes. They're not your taxes. They're some tyrant's taxes. Number two, I've always been promoting lately the concept that people with titles are just other people who have no more right to do anything than you or I do. But there's something kind of really important at the basis of that. Even at the beginning of this country, a group of people had to get together and tell themselves, we hereby grant ourselves the rights, powers, and authority to grant ourselves rights, powers, and authorities. In other words, everything they do is called usurpation. It's something that they just make up. And somehow we've all been tranquilized, stupefied to believe that that's an okay process.
Well, it's not somehow. It's they run the schools, and so they've indoctrinated people for 13 years at least. That's presuming they didn't go to college. Tack another 2 or 4 years onto that. So they did this.
Yeah.
And, the whole idea that a bunch of men with fancy wigs standing around in a room 200 plus years ago can somehow bind anyone but the men in that room is absolute pure fantasy.
I hereby declare that I shall grant myself powers over other men judged solely by me and my vast expertise on ruling over other men.
Right. Not a single, not a single one of us consented to that.
But that's all I had was to remind people that, people with titles are just other people, and they make up everything. They just kind of, it's conjuring up, kind of like witchcraft. They just conjure up
curious,
whatever they
Jet,
want to think about.
I'm curious what you think of my titles. As you may or may not know, I am Lord, Reverend, Captain, Kickass.
Well, I think you should add doctor in there.
I would if somebody would give me an honorary doctorate.
Okay, poof. You're an honorary doctor.
Sweet. All right. By the power vested in you, Jet, I am now Dr. Lord,
That's
Reverend,
right.
Captain Kickass.
I hereby grant myself the power to grant you doctorship.
I summon full authority.
That's right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'll start my practice
Now, wait a
tomorrow.
minute. Jet, wasn't there a third point? I thought the whole people in titles was point number 2.
Well, that was.
I thought you said you had 3 points.
I kind of forgot the third one.
Okay, no worries.
Happens to me all the time.
Except that Bitcoin Cash went 34% today.
Was it 34%?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, whether it'll stay up or not is a whole other question, but I sure hope it does. It'd be nice to see Bitcoin Cash have a bit of a resurgence. So, right on.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here watching a run on Ethereum.
Oh, I was just going to mention that, too. I think it's near the all-time high now. I think the all-time high for Ethereum was $1,400. I'm looking
really?
I've been looking at $1,311 for Ethereum.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep, I got my. Yeah, it's hard to know whether to cash out a little bit, because it's going to fall at some point. Put it back in.
Well, and also the question is, are we going to see what some have termed alt season? So in the world of cryptocurrency, for listeners that aren't familiar, I mean, most people have heard of Bitcoin,
yes,
right? Probably way fewer people have heard of any of the rest of them,
right,
including Bitcoin Cash or Dash, Ethereum, some of these other ones. And we are seeing a resurgence in. I mean, even Dash in just the last week has been up. If you look at U.S. dollars, is up 29%. I
know it.
Bitcoin
killed
Cash.
me. I've been sitting on that for months.
And Bitcoin Cash is much bigger than Dash is these days, and Bitcoin Cash, as you said, up quite a bit. This according to the statistics in the last week, it's up 60%. So I mean, very.
Bitcoin, just blew through 41 again.
Good. Nice. So, but this is so some people call this alt season when Bitcoin runs up. And then the alts run up at some point. The question is, when will that happen? Because until recently, the alts have they've just been kind of idling, basically, compared to Bitcoin.
Right.
I'm actually glad
I
to
think
see
more
that.
people are buying into a lot of smaller people are buying into the Bitcoin. Plus, I don't know if, what's his name, the Tesla guy, has dumped his load in
Musk.
yet.
Yeah.
He promised to do that here pretty soon.
Did
Maybe
he?
he's doing
Okay.
it piecemeal.
Because I know he's talked about Dogecoin in the past, and he has mentioned Bitcoin. It's not been clear as to how much of it that he has.
I think he only brings it up when it's in the news already.
Yeah,
it seems to be his MO. Like, he doesn't talk about cryptocurrency when it's not already in the news, and then when it's in the news, he wants to jump on the bandwagon and get his name in the news by just saying Bitcoin.
Hey, Jet, thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 603-283-6160.
Toll-free?
Did I say that? Wow.
The telephone number is.
That's right. The phone number, 603-283-6160.
Don't worry, I've done it.
Words just come out of my mouth, man.
You've been doing it for how long, man? I mean, come on.
All right, so we'll talk about tech. You know, we've been discussing Bitcoin here, but also, and Bitcoin's the good news. Like, that's the best news in the world of tech right now, the world of finance. It's Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. The rest of the news in the world of tech, deplatforming, repression, suppression, censorship, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
It's not by government, so maybe it's not technically censorship, but it is definitely, keeping opinions down. That much is for sure. Restricting what people can say on these purported platforms. 603-283-6160. If you want to join us, have you been deleted by the tech companies?
Free Talk Live.
If anybody else wanted to know how to do it, y'all gave them the information, and plus how to get illegal drugs, how to get hand grenades, and I mean, this is a free country, but I don't, but you gave out web addresses, Silk something.
The Silk Road is a revolutionary website that allows people to buy from the black market in a much safer manner than they currently buy, and I'm all about harm reduction, Bob. I think that reducing harm...
This is great for a free country. Let's get everybody on to safer illegal drugs.
Do you think anybody did crack after watching our show that had never done it before?
That's part of your liberty, that because it's okay with a lot of people, let's make sure we have it. Let's keep advertising.
No,
on
I
this
think
radio.
that it is not my right to tell you what is right or wrong to put in your body, and nor is it your business to tell me what is right or wrong to put in my body or what I'm going to do with my uterus.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
Who told you can go this way? You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't gonna make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this?
If you're a
Democrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Open phones as always, 603-283-6160. You may call in about anything you'd like. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian
Stone.
And the captain.
The number again, 603-283-6160. Or you can call us over our Matrix chat server. Chat.lrn.fm gets you to the step-by-step instructions you need to get connected to said chat server. If you already know what you're doing with Matrix, you can just use matrix.lrn.fm. That's the actual server URL. But the instructions are at chat.lrn.fm. And if you call us through that, then you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio. And it takes a little bit more to kind of get that up and rolling, but man, it's worth the effort, because if you sound better, we might want to have you on for longer and talk to you more, that kind of thing.
That's true.
So otherwise, call us at 603-283-6160. We were just talking about Bitcoin briefly with one of our callers, the price having broken $42,000 within the last 2 days. It's currently at about $41,000. And a question from SimpleMan48 in our Twitch chat. By the way, we are on Twitch and DLive for now until we get deplatformed. But twitch.lrn.fm will take you to the Twitch feed. And that's where SimpleMan48 says, is the value of crypto going up, or is the value of the dollar going down?
Oh, excellent question.
Or could it be both, would be my response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yes, the government gang and all of the governments around the planet are printing more and more and more money. So clearly that is going to result in things like the price of Bitcoin, the price of gold, and these other alternatives likely rising over time.
The other thing,
but that's not the only factor.
No, the other factor that I think is largely occurring is there is a high demand and a low supply.
With Bitcoin,
now this is planned.
There's a higher demand than ever.
Correct. And so that
a lower
means,
supply than ever.
And that means that the price is going to go up because now it's more valuable.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a law of economics. It's hard to avoid that
It's
one.
simple economics. When you go to public schools, they try and teach you basic economics, I think. They didn't teach me, really. But basic economics is supply and demand.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you really need to know. Everything else is interference with that. And so here we have a classic example of a finite supply and a huge demand.
True. It's true. So, I think you're definitely seeing Bitcoin going up faster than the rate of inflation.
That's not to say that there isn't inflation. Yes, they are putting more dollars into the economy on a daily basis, it seems.
And they're not slowing that down.
Trillions of them at a time.
They're going to keep
so
that going.
It seems.
They're going to open up the floodgates, I'm sure, if they, as though 2020 weren't bad enough. I bet you 2021 is going to outdo it.
If they manage to actually implement UBI on the government's dole, as it were, watch out. Venezuela's going to look like a small-time
Hold
operation.
My beer.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to your phone calls first here. Let's talk to Padraig calling us from out west there in New Mexico. Padraig, you're on Free Talk Live. Oop, did I press the wrong button? I did, didn't I? Padraig.
No, you didn't.
There you are.
Button.
You're on now. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Hello?
You are on the air. Padraig, go ahead.
Okay, I can just barely hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay, there you go. We're good now. Can you hear me okay?
I got you, brother. Go ahead.
I love you guys because we get a chance to call in and our voices are heard.
Indeed.
I'm calling from New Mexico, Cuba, New Mexico, but I was looking at my tax bill, and they raised my tax bill by $142.80. That goes to Laura M. Montoya.
Okay, are we talking about a property tax bill? We're talking about property taxes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead.
They wanted to steal my property away from me.
Yes, that's what they do.
And I worked very hard for it and saved. I'm an Irish immigrant, and I've worked very hard to buy a piece of land.
Yes, and they did nothing, but they think they deserve, a fraction of it.
They want a big portion of it, but I can look at this thing here, and I see Sandoval County debt. I see New Mexico state debt.
Mm-hmm.
I see debt and all the stuff that they want to build down there. And I don't even live in Cuba. I live outside of Cuba. So why doesn't the state of California charge me for their debt, or somebody else in New Mexico that I don't even live close to? I want to know why I'm paying the village of Cuba debt.
Well,
and
because
their capital improvements.
Padraig, it's simply because if you don't pay them, they will send you threatening letters. If you ignore the threatening letters, they will send men with guns to threaten to put you in a cage. And if you resist that, then they purport the authority to end your life if you don't pay them.
And they'll claim that that's all civilized.
I doubt that Laura M. Montoya is going to come arrest me.
Oh, no, she has men for that.
I have never met her. I don't know who she is. I know she's a Sandoval County treasurer.
She's a scoundrel, I'm sure, but she has...
Lujan Grisham is going to come arrest
No, they
me.
have men. They have men who will do that.
I see them in their black cars and their black uniforms.
Yes. Just like a criminal gang.
I graduated valedictorian in New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy in 1993.
Who was?
Really?
You were?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. And I quit that.
Why? Why did you quit?
That job because it was a bunch of little boys with guns and badges and uniforms playing cowboys and Indians, and I had already been in the United States military.
Wow.
Well, good on you for
and they
recognizing
hung out
it.
and got drunk and showed me their backup weapons and all the stuff they did, and it just disgusted me.
See, that's what happens to good cops, by the way. Your story is what happens to good cops. They can't handle it. They can't handle being around these guys, and they just say, that's it.
There's very few good cops, unless they have families that they have to support and they have nothing better.
By the way,
maybe the people who were going up to march on the Capitol building in their walkers and their canes and their wheelchairs, maybe they're just vets that got blown apart in the war. I don't know. I wasn't there.
But Drake, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. By the way, according to USDebtClock.org, New Mexico state debt 17.6 and change $billion and counting. It's a pretty handy little website that shows you the debt of course, the U.S. and then also all the state governments. But Drake, thank you for the call. We go to Tim in Washington. Tim, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, how you doing this evening?
Tim, what's on your mind?
Well, I kind of landed on your radio station because I was started talking about Bitcoin, so
welcome.
I'm learning quite a bit about that. So thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I do appreciate it. So a little bit of a complaint,
okay.
I guess, lack of better terms. So long time law enforcement, long time, and I know there's a lot of bashing that's going on with law enforcement. But I got to tell you, I've worked with a lot of really good people, and I'd like to classify myself as one of those because there's certain things that you do and you don't do. Every investigation is supposed to be fair, impartial, and unbiased without the threat of harm or threat of retaliation. Same goes for an interview. And when you go down those roads and you start doing with the principles of a good investigation, ability, opportunity, and motive, if you are tagging those things and doing it appropriately, and you're going into an investigation with an open mind, you get good quality cases. And look, I've done thousands of cases. Dealt in child exploitation, sex abuse, sexual assault, homicide stuff, deep assaults and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There are people out there that cannot defend themselves. And that's what law enforcement's there for.
Well, generally, law enforcement shows up kind of late, right? Like to most situations, you have to be prepared to defend yourself, or at least have some way of doing that, because the law enforcement is just minutes away when seconds count.
So I have a question for you, Tim.
Okay,
so, I have a question. Hang on.
Let me respond to that real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
There's a lot of people who can't defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're either outgunned or they're outmanned, or they don't have the skill or ability to do such. You see that a lot happening in DV situations. Okay, so we respond to those calls and we help those people, and I respond to those for the purpose of defending those who cannot defend themselves. And a lot of times when we take that, the primary aggressor, the perpetrator, to jail for the purpose of they assaulted them.
Hold that thought, Tim. I'll continue with you here in a moment. It sounds like he's actually a cop that is investigating crimes with a victim in a lot of cases, which is, refreshing when the police actually go after, criminals that have created victims. Unfortunately, they frequently go after innocent, peaceful people who've never harmed another person. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can dial toll. Oh, no, you can't dial toll free. You can dial normal. 603-283-6160. And honestly, we got plenty of calls here. So I don't really think toll-free makes much of a difference these days. Nah. 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it is me, Ian.
Stone.
And the captain.
And I want you to know about Liberty.menu. If you are a liberty-minded person running a business and you want, let's say, some new customers, you want to get the word out about your business, and you want to do it for free, go to Liberty.menu. It is a tool for the Liberty community. As long as you're an individual who rejects the initiation of force and agrees to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, then you belong at Liberty.menu, and you can use code FTL to get a special Free Talk Live listener badge over at Liberty.menu. Speaking of badges, we've got Tim on the line in Washington, originally called about Bitcoin, but had some thoughts you wanted to share about being a police officer for a long time. And you say you've known a lot of good people in the policing business. And, I don't doubt that a lot of people get into policing for good reasons. But unfortunately, what we end up hearing from a lot of the folks in policing who've been, I think, honest about their experience, and I'm not saying you've been dishonest. I think that this is your experience, and it is what it is. But we've also had people tell us that the corruption rises up through the ranks, and that there's a ton of bad cops, and that the good cops that are out there are too afraid to do anything about the bad cops.
No, that's not true. That is absolutely not true.
Well, that's what some cops told me. Why would they lie about that?
Because I've put bracelets on cops that have been bad myself.
Really? Give me an example.
So no, sexual abuse of a minor. Arrested that guy for it.
Okay.
That happened twice while I was working. DUI. Arrested him for that. Local municipality. DUI. Arrested him for that. See,
wow.
there's a difference between, in my opinion. Okay, so there's a difference between doing law enforcement. You talk about the thin blue line that we don't go against our own. That's a crock, because it's the bad guys that make us look bad, and I don't believe in that.
See, that's the thing.
I don't believe in that philosophy.
What makes cops look bad? Here, let me tell you what makes cops look bad. Because it's not when cops arrest real bad guys. To me, I'm like, right on. Go after the murderers, the rapists, the arsonists. Please, go after the property, vandals. That's fine. I support the police when they do those sorts of things. What makes the cops look bad is when they target innocent, peaceful people for things like possession of drugs or selling, marijuana, or being 20 and having, a beer, and having the police harass and threaten and arrest and ruin those people's lives. That's what makes them look bad.
Okay, so let's go to the marijuana thing, because we're starting to change those laws.
True.
But I was working in a time when marijuana and consumption was the Class A misdemeanor. Okay, so consuming and driving, those two don't work.
Okay, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Those two don't work.
Okay, but I'm not talking about that. So let's put that one aside. Okay, I'm talking about all the other drug-related crimes where there's no victim or not even a potential for a victim, just somebody with possession or somebody with dealing or growing.
So how did you get there?
How did
it
you
goes
get
back
where?
to the same principle. You talk about law enforcement engaging in conversation or engaging in with people who are committing basically small-time crimes, okay? Things that really don't need to be dealt with. Most of the time, you can send those people home.
Yeah, and there are some cops who do the right thing and look the other way and mostly leave those people alone, and I applaud those officers for doing that.
They're using discretion.
Right.
I have a question.
And that's what the law allows you to do.
It
so
does.
That the policy, it allows you to give you discretion.
But unfortunately, many cops don't use discretion, and they enforce to the maximum, and that's why we see hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million people a year arrested for various different so-called drug crimes, none of which have a victim. So if you want to know why people don't like the police, it's because the police seem to be constantly looking for reasons to put them in a prison cell. Them, their family members, their friends, their neighbors. I mean, this war on drugs has been a war against our friends and family. That's what it's been.
I will agree to disagree with this.
What part?
And the reason I say this is because that wasn't my focus. Never was my focus.
Good. Like I said, you sound like you're somebody who's actually enforced some real crimes. Like you've actually gone after real criminals. You mentioned rape. You mentioned you've done investigations of domestic violence and other violent crimes. So kudos to you for that. But have you arrested people for drug possession?
Yes, and it was when they were behind the wheel.
Okay. But on no other occasion?
Yes. Have I arrested somebody with drugs who was not committing, theoretically, a crime against another person?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I have. But
Under
the
what
amount was
circumstance?
beyond what needs to be. The amount would basically, which would classify as distributing.
So Tim's
And so was the
illustrating.
packaging material.
Tim's illustrating my point here, and if I may interrupt for just a second, Tim, I have a question I would like to ask you. Now, let's say that you are the world's most upstanding police officer. You only arrest the criminals committing real crimes, etc., and so on. I'm willing to give you that for the sake of this discussion. What incentive do police officers have to do that?
To do what?
Use discretion.
To use their discretion and only arrest people and only intervene when there's an actual crime, meaning victims, harm to a person or harm to somebody's property. What incentive do police have to do the right thing instead of the wrong thing?
Your training and experience, your background. It's how you were trained.
That's not incentive.
You're trained with the discretion. If you live by the principles of what the law is about, then you don't have.
You're just saying you have to be a good person.
To make contact.
Yeah, and that's not something you can rely on for government agents. Like, you cannot rely on your overlords and rulers being good people to you. That's not something a free society does.
Well, right, because the incentives of policing
let's have a common agreement here. Do I believe that all law enforcement officers are good? Hell no.
Okay.
I've known many to be bad.
Yeah.
As I went through the years and the ranks of going up the ranks and what have you, I've known quite a few of them. Badge heavy issues.
Sure.
Some people have a bone to pick on a particular crime.
Yeah.
And they want to go out and they want to enforce that application of it. Some of those are heavy-handed. I absolutely do not agree with that one on any level, but I had significant years of background in martial arts, so I was able to not have to do that on that level.
Okay, so let's just say that I have a problem with the quality of job that you've done as a police officer.
Sure, and that's happened.
What recourse do I have? What choice do I have in the matter?
You have actually multiple choices. So, are you a victim?
I'm just a citizen. I'm just a citizen.
Or are you a complainant?
I'm just a citizen observing the job that police have done in my community. You just happen to be in my community theoretically, and I am dissatisfied with the job that you've done over the past 2 years or whatever it's been that you've been on the force.
Like there was that female veteran that went in the Capitol House, got shot in the neck and killed. I mean, what's her recourse?
Well, first of all, an investigation needs to determine what happened. That's level
She was unarmed, okay? She had broken, she broke into the place. Big deal. She didn't commit violence. She wasn't threatening to commit violence against someone other than burgling, possibly. That's not an executable
Let's not
offense.
get down into the details. There's certainly plenty of, as you admitted, bad cops out there who've done terrible things to other human beings, and in a lot of cases, they get promoted. They don't actually get stopped.
Isn't that the truth of the matter?
Yeah.
Promoted to the highest level of incompetency. I understand that one.
Yeah. So to go back to Captain's question is, what sort of recourse, if any, do people have about that?
So recourse number one, they obviously have a supervisor. So depending on the type of crime and what actions had occurred, they have a supervisor.
Yeah, and if the supervisor is corrupt too, they're going to throw your complaint right in the circular file.
Okay, and I go back to this same issue. The way I'm trained, the way I do business, your complaint is to be taken fair, impartial, unbiased, without the threat of harm or retaliation. Okay? Now that is supposed to move up if the complaint is valid. Number one, that's the key issue, is whether it's valid. Because, look, as a supervisor, I got a lot of complaints, and quite a few of them were invalid.
Sure.
On the same token, we got a lot of complaints, and they are valid. So that then moves to an AI, an administrative investigation, to determine two things. Did you violate policy or did you violate law? If you violated law, it moves to a criminal investigation. You violated policy, it goes to an internal investigation.
And more often than not, Tim, and I thank you for the call, and you're welcome to call back anytime to continue the discussion, but I definitely want to get some other voices on here. But more often, those internal investigations and criminal investigations, they close the book and they say, well, looks like he did it by the book. Everything's totally fine here, as there's, a trail of bodies and burned, houses.
And they keep it secret. They keep it secret.
In some cases, they do. Tim, thank you for the call tonight. And that's why one of the reasons why people are just so upset about this. More coming up. Free Talk Live.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Democrats push ahead with impeachment. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Democratic lawmakers hope to introduce an article of impeachment in the House next week, accusing President Trump of inciting insurrection in the attack on the U.S. Capitol.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has given an ultimatum. She says that if the president, A, doesn't resign, or B, Vice President Pence doesn't invoke the 25th Amendment, then they're going to go ahead with impeachment. The Senate would hold a trial if the House does pass this measure. It really just takes a majority of the House to impeach the president. But the Senate trial may not be until after Joe Biden becomes president. If President Trump is convicted in the Senate on a separate vote, he may not be able to run for public office again.
Fox's David Spunt. Twitter and Facebook receiving sharp criticism over their decision to suspend President Trump from their platforms. The ACLU has joined the critics.
In a statement, ACLU's senior legislative counsel Kate Ruane writing, "This should concern everyone when companies like Facebook and Twitter wield the unchecked power to remove people from platforms that have become indispensable for the speech of billions, especially when political realities make those decisions easier." Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter all have suspended the president's accounts on their platforms after a violent mob excited by the president's debunked claims of voter fraud stormed the U.S. Capitol.
Fox's Charles Watson. Twitter cited the risk of further incitement of violence for suspending the president's account. The Wall Street Journal reports the White House pushed the top federal prosecutor in Atlanta to resign before Georgia's U.S. Senate runoff because President Trump was unhappy that he wasn't doing enough to investigate claims of election fraud. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
New York is allowing a wider range of people to be eligible for the coronavirus vaccine starting Monday. Fox's Alex Hogan reports.
On Friday, 8 governors issuing a letter to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services asking for expedited vaccine distribution. Starting Monday in New York, 3.2 million New Yorkers will get their turn at the shot. Phase 1B is made up of teachers, police and firefighters, public safety workers, and that includes correctional officers, public transit workers, and those over the age of 75. Governor Andrew Cuomo warning that without an increased supply, it will take 14 weeks to vaccinate the state's 1A and B groups. Cuomo expanding the pool of people who can now give the drug, and now that includes some nurses, pharmacists, midwives, or dentists.
President-elect Biden has announced plans to release all doses of the coronavirus vaccine once he takes office. Health authorities in California reporting a record high of 695 coronavirus deaths in one day. The State Department of Public Health says it raises the number who have died in the state since the start of the pandemic to 29,233. Many hospitals in Los Angeles and other hard-hit areas are struggling to keep up. There's another amazing celestial event with planets. 3 are now on display in the night sky.
NASA says a triple conjunction is happening for the next few nights. Scientists say the planet Mercury will appear to pass by Saturn and then Jupiter. It'll be visible each evening.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Following today's press conference in which NASA announced its continuing search for a planet capable of supporting NASA, researcher Dr. Kenneth Heiser sat down with Onion reporters to detail their ongoing mission to find a NASA-habitable planet.
Our objective is to find a planet capable of nurturing not just life, but also a sustained interest in the exploration of the cosmos. Such a planet would need to have water and proximity to light and heat, but also life forms with even the vaguest understanding of the importance of astronomical exploration. Ultimately, this would need to be a planet with organisms that have a genuine interest in expanding the limits of their knowledge.
Heiser added that any planet capable of supporting NASA would need to be able to generate a steady stream of financing to meet the agency's $18 billion annual budget.
The important thing is we just need to be patient. There's a limitless number of planets in the universe, and eventually we'll find one with the resources to support our work. We just have to, right?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live, kicking off the third hour here on this live Saturday edition. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Now, of course, you can take control of the airways here and bring up whatever is on your mind. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian,
Stone,
and the captain.
Let's continue with more of your calls and thoughts. People have been discussing cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin price crashing through $40,000 this week. It was $30,000 a week ago or something like that.
Well, mid-October, just before first week of October, it was $10,000.
Yeah.
So you do the math.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride here. Also, police. We actually had a police officer call in to talk about his perspective on policing.
I just wanted to say, too, because we talked a little bit about incentive, and that's the entire problem with the organization that calls itself government, is that there's no incentive for anybody to do any, like, human beings as a species, it's been proven, we only respond to incentive.
It helps.
That's generally speaking what across all cultures and languages people respond to. If there's some incentive for you to behave in a certain way, then you will do so. If you're after a thing,
you're more likely to do
and
that.
that's why employers have incentive programs, and salespeople have incentive programs, and all these things have incentive. Even the free market is nothing but incentive. Right?
Well, we don't have a free market, but...
Well, no, but that's what it's based on. It's based on incentive. Yeah. If you think you can do a better job than the other guy doing what he's doing, well, then you're free to go ahead and compete with him because now you have an incentive to.
Well, the incentive is you could make money.
Right, exactly.
You could do better than him, provide a better product or service. But with police, it doesn't matter the kind of product or service they provide because they're going to get paid anyway.
Right.
Because taxes.
There is no incentive for police to do, quote, the right thing, unquote, whatever that means to you.
The best that the caller could come up with is that he has good training and that he had a good upbringing.
Well, there's a procedure for that.
And he's doing the right thing.
Okay, but that's not incentive.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Right.
And now, maybe there's an award. There might be an award. You could get an award if you collar the most bad guys. I mean, there could be some kind of an incentive.
Right, and we've all heard about police having quotas and stuff like that for writing as many tickets as they can for speeding or whatever.
Yeah,
right. Those are incentives, but they're the wrong kind. Right, police should not be rewarded for the number of collars that they get. They should instead be awarded for things like, did they provide some sort of humanitarian service? Did they actually defend somebody from harm? Which we know police are largely a reactionary force.
Well, there could be the incentive of feeling good about helping somebody in a situation. You did help someone, so there's that sort of karmic...
The Boy Scout helping the little old lady across the street kind of thing.
Like if you actually do stop somebody from, committing a violent crime or something as a police officer, that's a good feeling.
That's not an incentive for cops to not act as if they are a gang.
Okay, what we're missing here is not that there might not be some sort of internal mechanism to try to encourage the police to do a thing, but that there's no external incentive. There's no way for you, as the person who's part of the so-called community, to have any real meaningful influence over what the police do. Sure, you can go complain to them, but they don't, in most cases, give a damn about what you have to say. The city council is going to ignore you. The police departments generally are going to file you in the circular file because there's corruption that rises through the ranks. And he admitted, at the very least, that there were plenty of bad cops that he'd encountered. Badge heavies were the term that's a term for a cop that literally uses the badge as an excuse to do violence against people. So he's witnessed some of it. Well, guess what? Some of those guys get up above his rank. And then how do you go against the captain? How do you go against the police chief when they're... Because he mentioned that he arrested a cop for molesting a kid or whatever. Well, there actually was a police chief here in the Cheshire County area who was actually raping children, at least one of them.
Right.
And, in that case, they did go after him because there are certain things that cops can't really get away with.
Yeah.
But there's a lot they can get away with. And if they are getting away with it and you decide you don't want to pay for it, then those cops will come after you and they'll throw you out of your home and arrest you.
Yeah. Now let's take a look at that same scenario, but in a market situation. There are two private schools. And you've just moved into a community and you found out that somebody in one of those private schools was molesting children.
Yep.
Are you going to send your kid there?
No.
No. Why not?
Oh, well, unless
because
they do something about
choice.
it. Right.
You have choice to go to send your kids to the school that didn't have that guy or girl, whoever it was.
But the thing is, the school would do something about it because if they don't, you have the choice to leave. So they actually have an incentive to get rid of the bad eggs rather than give them promotions like we see in so many police departments.
And also think about the people who already were sending their kids to that school who would now take their kids out because of that one child molester that the school may or may not have done anything about. That's another market reaction. These reactions cannot happen to police because they have a monopoly on the use of force.
That's right. Let's go to Jim in Florida. You're on Free Talk Live. And we all know monopolies are bad, but yet we're supposed to say, okay,
because
when it comes to
there's no
government.
choice, there's no incentive, period.
Jim in Florida, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead. Hello, Jim in Florida. Jim going once. Jim in Florida going twice. All right. I guess Jim is not there. And that's too bad. He wanted to talk about Bitcoin. The toll-free number, normal number, 603-283-6160. That's 603.
Maybe Jim got rich while he was on hold.
283-6160. So there's been this big situation that's been brewing for years, and it seems like they really kicked it into gear in just the last 24 to 48 hours, and that is deplatforming and taking people off of things like social media or online video sharing platforms like YouTube and elsewhere. And it's gotten really bad. Just ever since they took Donald Trump down, these social media platforms have been going all out. And I've seen multiple reports from people I know online saying they've been banned from Facebook for 30 days.
Yeah, the freedom community at large has suffered many a deplatform casualty.
Many people have lost large numbers of Twitter followers. If they have not personally been banned yet, they've had their numbers of followers taken down because all of those people have received either temporary or permanent bans.
And this is entirely political, near as I can tell.
Yeah.
It's because you support or don't support candidate X.
That's correct. And the people who've been banned have said things like they believe that it is, well, first of all, Facebook won't tell you why. They just say something you've posted has violated our terms, and it doesn't say what it is. But that one person, like a husband and wife couple, one of them had confirmed that they were going to go to a certain event, and the other had not confirmed that they were going to go to the event, and the one that confirmed got banned. And the one that didn't confirm was not banned. So they suspect that it was, indicating that they were going to go to like one of these protest events. Another lady on one of the groups here in New Hampshire, who I've met in person, said that she was under restriction at Facebook or whatever, and she tried to indicate that she was going to attend an event, and then Facebook refused to indicate that and instead forced her into the can't option instead of attend or whatever, attend or can't attend or whatever, and then wouldn't let her change it. That's what she claimed. Multiple people have said they have been banned from these platforms. They're not sure why. Others believe it's because they posted something about what happened at the Capitol building.
I feel like it's time to go old school for everybody, the regular folks, right?
What do you mean old school?
Well, stop depending on this technology, these social media platforms, and
like
instead
CB radio. What are you talking about?
Well, sure. I mean, why not? But I'm thinking like social groups. Right now we've seen
like
all
physical
this,
people meeting.
Yes, you have a meeting, once, every month, or the first Wednesday of every month, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
you have a social meeting with a bunch of people. We do, but I don't think the majority of citizens.
But how are you going to meet people if you can't go online? we're so
How did people
reliant.
do it back in the day?
I don't know. Yeah. How did that happen?
Well, time for people to figure it out.
Get the phone book out. I mean, what do you do?
Now, first of all, here's how I knew that all the kids in my neighborhood were gathering. I would just get on my bicycle and ride around the neighborhood, and whatever yard had a bunch of bicycles laid down in front of it, that's the place you wanted to go. That was the indicator. That was all the people going, I'm attending.
Right.
So maybe we could do that again.
I don't think we have to reject technology entirely, Captain.
No, I'm not saying reject. I'm just saying that have these things as backup.
Sure. Yeah, it's important to do that. But in order to have them as a backup, you have to have a community first that you can go to and say, all right, well, let's meet here at this time in this place, and let's remember that. That way we don't, if they take the internet down.
Believe it or not, churches are really good at this kind of thing.
True. 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. If you want to weigh in here, there's more deplatforming and some pretty scary stuff going on out there online. Is the Civil War going to actually happen online?
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. The number for you, if you want to join us here, 603-283-6160. Thank you to Jason C. Jason is a amplifier gold level, which means Jason is contributing $10 a month to the Free Talk Live amp program.
Jason, you the man.
So thank you for that, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Was that Jason C as in the letter C or like SEA?
That's the letter C.
Okay.
And he supports Free Talk Live, and we appreciate that. You can become an amplifier just like Jason. Just go to amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. With you tonight, it's Ian,
Stone,
and the captain.
We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts, and we've got Jim back now. I think I might have screwed the phones up earlier, so we're still learning the system here. Jim, you're on Free Talk Live, and you're really there this time.
Daytona Beach, the world's most famous beach. When you value Bitcoin, you always put it in United States dollars. Now, I find that hypocritical because if you want the United States to fall, couldn't you come up with a better way to value that?
Okay, so first let me ask you, just for a technical thing, just do me a favor and back off your phone by 5 or 6 inches and you'll sound a little bit better here. But a way to explain the value of a thing to people in the United States is to put it into terms of dollars. Now, that's not to say that you could not put it into a different sort of a term. So, for instance, what we can do is we can put Bitcoin in terms of ounces of gold. You could definitely do that, and there are ways to easily do that. I'm pulling up up CoinGecko, for instance, where you can pull up these what they call stable coins, where it's actually a cryptocurrency or a crypto token that is backed up by, say, an ounce of gold. So if you look at like Tether Gold or Pax Gold, you can pull that up, and then you can see what 1 ounce of gold is worth in Bitcoins. So, for instance, right now, I can do that here if I can pull it up fast enough, and I could give you that number, but it's not being easy on me. So I wasn't prepared for your question, but it is possible to do that. I just don't have it in front of me.
I spent Bitcoin Cash today for my dinner before coming to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost me 0.051345 Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, it's hard to use another cryptocurrency to give a value of Bitcoin because it just makes things more complicated for people.
Yep.
Do you understand, Jim, though, why it's important to use terms like dollars? Because people they don't really think outside of dollars yet.
Well, yes, I do, but when the United States falls, your dream, how are you going to value it?
Oh, there's all kinds of things that you can value Bitcoin. And as I said, I just gave you an example of you can use gold, for instance, or you can use any other currency or anything else of value because Bitcoin is valuable and it is trading constantly for all kinds of things besides the dollar.
Okay, when I go to the supermarket, the cashier can barely count the money back. So I got to bring a scale now and weigh gold to them. I mean, it's ridiculous.
No, you don't, actually. Bitcoin doesn't involve a scale. It doesn't involve gold at all. So when you purchase things with Bitcoin, it's actually super easy. It's actually easier than using a credit card. So whenever I go and I do this multiple times, I do it every single day here in Keene, New Hampshire. I go out and I spend cryptocurrency like Bitcoin to buy my food. Every single time I eat out, I'm going and I'm paying with cryptocurrency because here we have multiple businesses that accept it. They simply show me a little code on their tablet. I scan it with my crypto wallet and I hit the send button and boom, paid. It's done.
Okay, well, I hope that works when we're all in a camp and,
Well, if you're in a camp, then you're going to die probably, be gassed to death or something like that. But, until then, you still got to buy your dinner.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Jim. It works great, actually.
We do kind of live in the future here in the area of New Hampshire that we're in, the sort of, even largely other places in New Hampshire outside of Keene.
Mm-hmm.
But there are, 6, 8, 10 places maybe that accept cryptocurrency for different things. Like, we can get some car work done. I know a convenience store now that's carrying my favorite beer that takes the Bitcoin. I go to them.
I had car repair done this week I paid Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah. So I've been trying to tell some of my friends sort of more out west, what it's like. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, what website are you using now? I still have an old Coinbase account, but, I want to know what you're using. And I'm like, to be honest with you, I haven't used my Coinbase account since I moved here, really. I've moved some money around. If anything, I've drained money out of my Coinbase account and moved it, off Coinbase. But I know enough people around here to transact person to person.
Yeah.
Also, there's a bunch of vending machines around here with no KYC, so I don't have to do all of those things. So we do live in the future a little bit here.
Yeah, I think that, and obviously new questions are welcome. I would like to encourage Jim to do some basic research. It sounds like he just didn't really know at all anything about cryptocurrency and why it's different. So let's go over some basics for you here. Cryptocurrency is special and it's unusual and it's unique, and what makes it, Bitcoin was the first one, valuable, is because it's decentralized, unlike all of the government monies out there. They're all centrally issued, centrally controlled, centrally inflated. Bitcoin is decentrally hosted, it's distributed, it's copied amongst thousands of locations all around the planet, meaning that there's a copy of what they call the blockchain, which is a public ledger of all of the transactions that have ever happened on Bitcoin from day number one, from transaction number one. All the way through now. So it's like 300 gigabytes of information. So it's fairly large after a dozen years of transactions. And having that in thousands of different locations simultaneously, all linked together by the same peer-to-peer network results in a situation where Bitcoin cannot be hacked because it's cryptographically secure, so it's secured by mathematics.
Yep.
It cannot be taken down, so a hostile government, say the U.S. or the Chinese government or the North Koreans or the Iranians or whichever government gang wants to come after Bitcoin, even if they go and they try, and they would have to try real hard to shut down every Bitcoin node in their jurisdiction, there'd still be thousands more outside of their jurisdiction that they couldn't do anything to.
For the layperson out there, imagine there's a magic book with every transaction ever made, and you can have a copy of this book by running a node. And now whenever somebody makes a change to one of the books, all of the books magically have that change appear in them, and that's what validates the transactions as trustworthy.
So why do people use the dollar to denominate Bitcoin? Well, they don't all use the dollar. If you're in Singapore, you would use the Singapore, I don't know what they call it. Is it $1 there? But whatever Singapore currency is. Or if you're in China, you use the Chinese yuan. If you're in Australia, you use the Australian dollar, and so on and so forth. But if you want to price it in the price of gold, I will tell you right now, one Bitcoin, which again in U.S. dollars is worth about $41,000, one Bitcoin is currently going to get you about 22 ounces of gold. And on the other side, if you have 1 ounce of gold, then you'll get about 0.045, so less than 5%, about 4.5% of a Bitcoin.
That's a lot of gold. I think Mr. T would pity the fool who's not into Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it didn't used to be like that. You know, it used to be that, because I remember I bought gold years ago with some Bitcoin. It was back when, I'd gotten some Bitcoin in from advertisements. We had some advertisers that were paying in Bitcoin. And I don't want to just hold on to all this Bitcoin. I want to buy something with it. So I bought some gold, and I honestly don't remember what I paid for it, but it was probably like several Bitcoin for like 1 ounce of gold at the time.
Yeah, I bought some gold last night, actually.
Yep, indeed.
Nice.
So 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. As always, you can join us here. You can also trade Bitcoin for weed. I mean, there's an ounce of weed, too. We're coming up.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for Forkfest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and Forkfest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for Forkfest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow Forkfesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the Forkfest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want if you dial in at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got me, Ian.
Stone.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass is here.
We're talking about cryptocurrency and what is it that makes it special. It does not have to be denominated in dollars, as our last caller was a little bit concerned or confused about. You can denominate it in anything anyone's willing to trade for it. And plenty of people are trading Bitcoin for gold and vice versa. In fact, I think, Stone, you mentioned it on the air. You bought some gold with your Bitcoin last night. So no dollars involved.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that can be done. And
to us, it's normal, big deal.
Yeah.
But to somebody listening on the radio that doesn't live here, that you did what? I don't how do you? Blah, blah, blah. Well, it's totally possible and it's super easy.
Yep, indeed. And so let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here. Someone calling themselves the White Rose from Colorado. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call.
Do me a favor, back off your phone, White Rose. I'm sorry, back your phone away like 6 inches.
Okay, how's
Thanks.
that?
That's much better. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I got a question to ask you about the Bitcoin, and I got a statement to make, and I'd like to plug my website if I could.
All right.
My website's thewhiterose.simplesite, spelled S-I-T-E, simplesite.com. All lowercases, no spaces.
Now, just to be clear, you are not the same White Rose as the Telegram White Rose. You have no relation whatsoever to the Telegram White Rose.
No relation to them at all.
Okay.
I had the name first.
Well, the White Rose Society had the name way before you.
And their group had a respect for them, and that they were killed. They had their heads chopped off.
So what were you calling about tonight?
Okay, so I was calling about. I would like to. As I understand it, the Bitcoin value is held on a encrypted account on a USB drive.
No. Bitcoin is in the cloud. No? So Bitcoin is, as I was describing earlier, is based on what's called the blockchain. And without getting too technical, a blockchain is a cryptographically secure, distributed system that is essentially an open ledger, a public ledger that exists in thousands of locations simultaneously.
So all you need is a number to access your cloud account.
What you need is what's called a private key, and whenever you have a Bitcoin wallet, like say Edge Wallet or Exodus Wallet or one of the various different Bitcoin wallets out there, that gives you access to the Bitcoin that is in your account.
Okay, so all transactions have to be done through the internet?
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, the Bitcoin is sort of like the internet of money.
It's
so
not necessarily true. There are people who figured out how to do it over like shortwave radio transmission and that kind of thing.
True, but ultimately they do have to have some way of connecting to the Bitcoin network in order to propagate
resolve it, right? Yeah.
that transaction. Although that said, if you have what's called a private there's like a, what do they call it, an offline wallet or I'm forgetting the word for it, but it's where you like print out a QR code. What's the word I'm looking for, guys?
Paper wallet?
Paper wallet, that's it.
But you can receive Bitcoin without being connected to the internet.
Right. That's true, but the person has to be connected to send it.
Yeah, the person sending it has to be connected to the internet.
Correct.
But to retrieve your value out of the cloud, we have to have electricity, right?
Yeah, definitely you need to have electricity in order for the internet to operate, yes.
So if we have an EMP attack, and we're screwed then.
Well, as long as you can get your computers back online at some point in the future, then no, you're not screwed, because as long as somebody somewhere has a copy of the blockchain, then once people figure out how to recreate technology and turn the power back on, they'll have access to it again.
EMPs is not a non-recoverable event.
Yeah, you write down like a paper
but how
notebook.
far into the future? I'm saying, how far into the future?
How long would it take people to turn the electricity back on after an EMP?
Well, who knows how much damage might get done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously there are some bad things that could happen in life.
A meteor could hit the Earth, and now you don't have any Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I wouldn't say. I got to let you go. I can't handle the phone there, but I appreciate the call. That's why I would say that you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I would never tell somebody.
Be diverse. Be diverse.
Yeah, I would never tell somebody, "Oh, you got to go all in on cryptocurrency." No, that's a terrible idea. What you want to do, and I'm not an investment advisor, but what I would do is put something into cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or some of the other competing cryptocurrencies. Don't put in what you can't afford to lose, however, whether that be losing because the price of Bitcoin goes down, or goes to zero, which seems unlikely but could happen, or because some sort of terrifying, EMP sort of event happens, or the government drops a bomb on your city, or whatever it is, some sort of unpredicted black swan event that destroys what you thought you could count on. So, in those other cases, you may do well to have something physical like gold or silver. Gold backs, for instance, are very, very exciting.
They are.
When you said, Stone, that you'd purchased gold, you actually purchased what are called gold backs.
Yeah.
And those are a more useful form of gold because they're available in small denominations of as little as 1/1000th of an ounce of gold, so roughly about $3-4 worth of gold. Some people sell them for as high as $5 or $6, like on eBay, for instance. You can easily pay $6 for one of those things on eBay, from what I've seen.
So
have an alternative or two.
I'm a fan of Jamie Redmond. He's a writer
at Bitcoin.com. News.bitcoin.com.
He put together this. It's a very quick description of the ledger portion of Bitcoin. The first form of a single-entry ledger or one-sided accounting was around pre-2000 BC when people began to barter and trade in great number across distances. Of course, this kicked society into higher gear and better forms of bookkeeping. During the Renaissance period, intelligent people discovered double-entry bookkeeping, which literally changed everything in the world of accounting. Our modern financial system is based on the double-entry system created more than 600 years ago. The double-entry system was first documented centuries ago, 1446 approximately, by a mathematician and Franciscan friar. The birth of triple-entry bookkeeping began 12 years ago tomorrow. This was on the birthday of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about this for a minute. The inception of single-entry ledger or one-sided accounting transformed humans towards a better form of prosperity and growth. The double-entry system also catapulted the world into a new form of bookkeeping and financial transactions.
Right.
In essence, these ledger-based systems transformed society for the better. So solving the Byzantine fault dilemma, which had fooled computer scientists since the dawn of the computer, has been a pretty big deal and will continue to be a big deal.
It is. And Bitcoin has just barely scratched the surface on the kind of influence that it's going to have over finances.
What the triple ledger system does is it solves the problem of trust.
Mm-hmm.
So no longer do you need a central authority like a bank or a government issuing currency to have trust between two parties attempting to make a trade.
So I did the math, Captain. I said that I bought some gold a long time ago with Bitcoin. Back when, I had some Bitcoin, and I'm like, well, I don't know if this stuff's going to go down. I don't know, because it had actually peaked. This was during the first big run-up. Well, I guess there was a big run-up to $30 early on, but the first real big run-up where it got up to $1,000, I think it was like almost $1,100. It was the first time it had ever done that. This was the end of 2013. And so it was during that run-up, I'm like, all right, well, I better do something with this before it goes down, because it did go down and then back up a few years later. But so I spent at that time, and this was like near the peak, it was $950-something for one Bitcoin. At the time when I did this, I bought 4 ounces of gold at that time, and I spent roughly 5 Bitcoin, 5 point something Bitcoin. So I spent about 1.3 Bitcoin for 1 ounce of gold. Now you can get 22 ounces of Bitcoin.
That's the gold.
Sorry, 22 ounces of gold for 1 Bitcoin.
That's amazing.
So, should have held on to the Bitcoin, but you never know in the moment. You don't know what's going to happen. More coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
Following reports that local full-blown alcoholic Ken Matheson has such great friends that let him drink himself to death right before their eyes, the 32-year-old man spoke to reporters during a typical evening of binging with his closest friends.
Man, these guys are like brothers to me. I don't know what I'd do without him.
The chemically dependent man, who can reportedly always count on his friends to look the other way, facilitate belligerent behavior, and encourage his self-destructive impulses, informed reporters that the members of his tight-knit circle are, quote, the best buddies a guy could ask for.
Can you just shut the fuck up? Seriously. Just shut the fuck up. I lost back then. Keep going. What the fuck are you looking at? I love you, man. I love you.
Check this week's Onion Review for further developments.
I love you. Oh, God, I love everybody.
This is the Onion News Network.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live, moments remain here. If you dial, you can join us at 603-283-6160. You don't have to talk about crypto or cops or
whatever you want to talk about.
Or whatever else. It's up to you. 603-283-6160. Although I did want to talk about deplatforming, and I hope we'll be able to get into that here because there's some real bad news. I mean, worse than what we've already talked about. And it's been bad, where yesterday there's this competitor to Facebook called Parler. I've never bothered with. I just don't care about.
Apparently, they crashed. They were overwhelmed with new
they got
requests.
taken down.
Oh, really?
Well, I heard about them getting crashed due to requests, but they got taken down from the Apple and Google app stores.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that
because they wouldn't implement whatever kind of crackdowns that Apple and Google wanted them to implement.
Google and Apple should not be the gatekeepers to all things app.
But that's what they're doing, and they're doing the government's bidding. So, we've been covering this, and we covered a lot of it on the show last night. If you want to hear a lot about deplatforming takedowns and how bad it's really getting out there, grab our show from yesterday, Friday. You can go to freetalklive.com. We got the last 7 days worth of shows, easy to access right there at the top of the page. And if you want to dig deep into the archive, it goes back to 2006. So,
it sure does. I've done so.
Yeah. So please enjoy that. Let's go quickly to David in New Mexico first. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, David.
It's deplatformed, man. The original.
Really? What happened?
Oh, well, I was deplatformed from the radio. I've been deplatformed from Facebook previously. I got deplatformed from my own children.
Yep.
Imagine that.
That's true.
So, so let's punch DA Raul Torres, Bernalillo County, New Mexico, in the mouth once more. Hey, Raul. Hey, you know why I'm fighting you in court right now and you're losing? Loser? Hey, Raul, you're losing. You know why? Because yesterday, January 8th, not only was it Elvis's birthday and David Bowie's birthday, it was my daughter's birthday, Paisley Olson, which her last name was illegally changed to Elich. But we'll get it back to Olson, Raul. But that's why we're in court. That's why I'm kicking your ass, Raul Torres, because you trafficked my children here in the state of New Mexico. And she was 15 yesterday. That's Paisley. Wow. And I said goodbye to her one day, July 2nd, 2007. She was wearing diapers, if I remember. I did not know I would never see her again.
You saw her 13. You saw her 13 years ago was the last time?
Yeah, I walked out the door not knowing I would never see her again. I never seen her again, and yesterday was her 15th birthday, Raul Torres.
Thank you, David, for the call, man. That's tough. That's a tough situation.
That dude's certainly been through it, and perhaps he is the original deplatform man. We don't know.
Well, things are about to get much worse. Mitchell Baker over at the Mozilla Foundation. Have you heard about them? Do you know them?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who Mozilla is?
I do.
Who's Mozilla?
They make Firefox.
Firefox, one of the world's most popular, if not the most popular browser.
My preferred browser of choice on the Windows operating system.
Yeah, and on all operating systems, very, very popular. And so they have an opinion.
Supposedly, have done more for private browsing than all the other browsers.
I would say Tor browser has done more, but I think they based on Firefox.
Without having to access the Tor network, of course, yes.
They may not be supporting privacy any longer, according to Michael Baker at the blog, the official blog for Mozilla. So this is from their blog. Headline, "We need more than deplatforming." Statement, "There is no question that social media played a role in the siege and takeover of the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Since then, there has been significant focus on the deplatforming of President Donald Trump. By all means, the question of when to deplatform a head of state is a critical one, among many that must be addressed. When should platforms make these decisions? Is that decision-making power theirs alone? But as reprehensible as the actions of Donald Trump are," which I'm not sure exactly what he did to be called reprehensible in this case. I mean, there's a lot of reprehensible things he's done, like bombing innocent people in the Middle East. But, telling people to go to a protest, I'm not sure if that's reprehensible. But going on, "The rampant use of the internet to foment violence and hate and reinforce white supremacy." What?
When did
he do that?
Yeah.
Is about more than any one personality. Donald Trump is certainly not the first politician to exploit the architecture of the internet in this way, and he won't be the last. We need solutions that don't start after untold damage has been done. Changing these dangerous dynamics requires more than just the temporary silencing or permanent removal of bad actors from social media platforms.
Did Facebook deplatform everybody involved in the Arab Spring?
No. No, if you're against what the companies believe is a bad government, then it's okay.
I think that these social media companies should be consistent in their deplatforming policies when it comes to state agents.
I think they should deplatform all state agents. How about that?
You've taken the words right out of my mouth.
But they won't do that because they are appeasing the state. These companies beg for attention from the state for
they only
handouts.
want to deplatform those people in the state that they disagree with. The ones that they agree with, they want to keep in.
That's right. They want to curry favor with the people in power. So here's what he's going to propose. So the guy from Mozilla, whoever the hell they're letting blog for them, is saying...
Is it an executive or something?
Mitchell Baker, if you want to look him up. He's got blog access, apparently. But here's what he says. This is what he says must be taken besides just turning people's their social media accounts off. He says, additional precise and specific actions must be taken. For instance, to reveal who is paying for advertisements, how much they are paying, and who is being targeted. Commit to meaningful transparency of platform algorithms so we know how and what content is being amplified, to whom, and the associated impact. Turn on by default the tools to amplify factual voices over disinformation. Work with independent researchers to facilitate in-depth studies of the platform's impact on people and our societies and what we can do to improve things. So the one that's really scary here, right, is turn on by default the tools to amplify factual voices over disinformation. Does that mean that Mozilla...
Is that doublespeak?
Well, first of all, you were showing me who this person is.
This is Winifred Mitchell Baker, the executive chairwoman and CEO of the Mozilla Foundation and of Mozilla Corporation, a subsidiary of the Mozilla Foundation.
So this is the boss lady.
Age 59, 62 years, Berkeley, California.
Yep, CEO, Berkeley.
I'm sorry, born in 59, age 62.
Turn on by default the tools to amplify factual voices. So does that mean that Mozilla will now be determining who is a fact giver?
Who's a factual voice?
And who is a disinformation giver?
Are these the same fact checkers that Zucker, that guy? I like to say his name differently. I can't say that on the air. Berg deploys. Work
with independent researchers to facilitate in-depth studies of the platform's impact on people and our societies and what we can do to improve things. She says these are actions platforms can and should commit to today. The answer is to not do away with the internet, but to build a better one that can withstand and gird against these types of challenges. This is how we can begin to do that. So, she doesn't go into a whole lot of detail here, but some of these things are a little concerning, don't you think, Captain?
I want to know why she doesn't go by Winifred. Why does she go by Mitchell?
Yeah, that's a little weird. Anyway, 603-283-6160. Unscreened caller. We're going to go to you here in the remaining moments here. Go ahead. Hello.
You're on Free Talk Live.
Hello.
You're on the air. What's your name?
Wendy from Ocean Shores, Washington
And
State.
Wendy, what are your thoughts tonight? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering what you all think about, the riots in Portland, Oregon. and all around. They didn't do anything about that.
It's true.
Yeah, so I mean,
why is it?
Did they raid the city hall in Portland?
Yes.
Did they? Okay.
But I mean, it's just like crazy because, now the Capitol, of course, is the Capitol, but they've taken down all the statues, and their history and everything, but they did nothing about, Trump tried to stop all these riots. I know people, I live in Washington State, about 2.5 hours from Portland, Oregon, and born there, and they did nothing about ruining people I knew that had businesses. I mean, what's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some inconsistent enforcement on these things. Not that, I want to see anybody being arrested for doing what they did in the Capitol or if they destroyed City Hall in Portland. Ultimately, if government buildings take damage by protesters, I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me one iota. Because after all, if it's your property, which we all know that's bunk, but that's the claim, right? Oh, we're the government. If it's your property, then you should have a right to destroy it. But, we know they're going to destroy our lives. They're going to destroy our businesses. They're going to destroy our freedoms. They're going to take our money and our obedience.
And they're not done.
And out of time for tonight, and they're actually going around making arrests now for people that were inside the Capitol building. The guy with the horns got arrested today, apparently. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at Twitter